5:30, and everyone is here that I think is going to be here, so we'll go ahead and get the meeting called to order. Cassidy is gone today, so Nicole is going to do roll call for us.
Okay. Ryan Sheik. Not here. Jolene Sporto. Here. Patrick Mullen.
Here.
Mike Bullen.
I'm here.
Joe Valentine.
Here.
Shelley Cool.
Here.
Julios. Not here. Nicole Stevens. Here.
All right, so we do still have a quorum, and you get to also read the mission, and you're being so good
Full
at
of
this.
it. The mission of WLA is to utilize leadership-based programs and strategies grounded in solid research, combined with the demonstrated success of core knowledge curriculum as a basis of a rigorous overall educational program that builds strong skills in math, reading, literature, writing, music, science, and technology. The vision of WLA is to be a school where students and graduates become exceptional leaders and are prepared to take on the academic and leadership challenges they will face in high school and beyond.
Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I'd like to amend the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to amend item 8.3 to close enrollment in grades K through 8.
All right. All right, there's been a motion to amend the agenda for 8.3, which is actually 7. We'll just leave it as 8.3. Closing enrollment in all grades K through 8. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to amend the agenda. We can discuss it when we get to that point. Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I'll motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'm going to make a motion to approve the November 16th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare this evening? Is there any public comments, Mr. Broderick?
We do have two.
Oh,
I just
sorry.
put asterisks right here
Got
by
it.
these two ladies in the front row.
All right, so we will start with Carrie Joyce.
Yeah, hi. We actually have come together. So we wanted to have a conversation about student behavior on the buses. Our kids are in 3rd grade. They both ride bus 6 together. My son also rides bus 11, depending on which house he's at. Both of our kids have experienced a number of issues on the buses with kids picking on them, getting pushed around. And we've noticed that out on the parent Facebook group, there's been a lot of discussion about student behavior across all of the buses. Things like hanging out of windows, yelling and screaming, generally children just not having a positive experience on the bus. I know that my son, a few weeks ago came to me absolutely in tears and asked me to bring it to the attention of the school. So I did write an email to the dean of students, and I got a reply back that she was going to look into it. And it's been a few weeks now, and I haven't heard anything back. Our kids told us that the solution was that they were getting moved to a new seat in the bus, but then last week we got a new bus driver, and now there's no longer assigned seats in this bus. So we just are wondering, one, is the school aware of the bus behavior stuff going on? And 2, what maybe is already being done about it, and how can that be communicated to the families? Because from our perspective, it seems like it's being addressed in isolation, when it seems like maybe it's a larger problem of like a culture that could be addressed with the students.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's very, very helpful. I just want to clarify, or maybe you want to jump in, that when we have public comment and we don't engage, what happens is I will volunteer, I'll be delegated to get back to you I would try to do that tomorrow or over break. And maybe have some more discussion face-to-face by having you and some others in, both of you.
And
But
I
I
think the
just-
reason why we came here is because it feels like it's been addressed so far with silence, and that hasn't been, this would be a lot easier way to get faces to faces versus faces through email.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just don't want you to feel uncomfortable because we're not able to talk about it right now.
I work in a nonprofit, I get it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you both.
And you're Elizabeth?
Yes,
Okay, do you have anything that you want to add, or?
I think Carrie covered it really well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Yeah, thank you both.
All right, so there's no other additional public comments. So we will move on. For the board report, I don't have a lot this evening, other than it feels good to be completed with our executive search, executive director search. So just an update on that. We have made the offer to Jonas Bugan, and we are waiting on negotiation of that agreement, and hopeful that we'll be able to come to common ground and that he will accept the offer. So that's kind of where we are with our search. So that's really all I have.
All right, great. I have quite a bit, and I talked to Mike before the meeting started, and you will
Yeah, we'll put you in the no huddle if we need to, yes.
hurry me up if Shelby doesn't elbow me,
Yeah.
right? Okay. As we look through the director report, go down under organizational leadership. I want to point out that Volunteers of America, who is our authorizer, Stephanie Olson is the leading representative for them, came in. She had no concerns. She did have an issue with one video that was being watched in one of the middle school classrooms, and one wall that had tape marks on it. I think that speaks pretty well to our program and the care we take in keeping our facilities nice. I did follow up with that teacher, and it was, the video actually did fit the curriculum that she was teaching on Rio de Janeiro, but it was animated, so it didn't look like it was age appropriate, but it did cover all of the topics that they had been studying. So it was an interesting piece, but that went very well. Open enrollment began December 1st. Happy to report that we have about 110 families that are currently enrolled. That includes 73 for kindergarten. We usually have that big push for kindergarten right away. But I was very encouraged to see that we have 13 new sixth graders. This was as of a few days ago. At some point, probably later in January, I'm going to talk to the board. I haven't talked to the teachers yet about potentially doing looping for 5th and 6th grade, so that's where you have the same teacher for 2 years. Jolene and I just spoke about it just briefly this morning, but I'd like to talk to the teachers. I think that might be one way to encourage our 5th grade families to stay on another year and be a little gentler and an easier transition for our 6th graders into middle school. But I'll bring that back in January after I've talked to staff. So, open enrollment is going very well. Under instructional leadership, I am recommending, you've seen that there's an action item to close new enrollments for all grade levels effective immediately and for the duration of the school year. Basically, we have a full house. We do have some kids in the younger grade levels that are proving to be challenging. Some of these kids need support services that we've been going through our data processing to evaluate. We have some kiddos that are on extended leave. We're working hard to build a culture in the middle school where the kiddos are trusting and relying on each other. At first, I was just going to recommend K2 and then 6 through 8, but looking at the numbers with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, we're really to the gills. We are making budget, and that is why I have put that on the table, but I'm happy to discuss it further. I'd also like to just pass around this piece of paper in case any board members want to take a peek at what's enrolled before we get to the action items at each grade level. So if we can start that with you, Mike, take your time. As we move into bullying summary, I do also have a handout, and I brought copies for audience members as well. During our interview process for the new executive director, you will all remember that in the gym, there was some, I thought this was back to back. There we go. That a statement was made in there in a public forum that WLA Middle School had 10 to 12 reports of bullying on a daily basis in middle school, and that administration does not address bullying behaviors. That's a lot. I don't know why I'm fumbling here. I guess I can't do two things at once. There's your side. Mike, if you could do your side and then put them on the table for the audience members. Obviously, this paints our school in a very poor light. And obviously, it's really paramount, that we make sure that all of our kids are emotionally and physically safe. I did call the lawyer to see for the recommended process to follow. And thank you, Shelby, for bringing that to my attention. Basically, the lawyer said, well, that was either a false statement, or school policies and protocols aren't being followed by teachers, or they're being followed by teachers and admin is dropping the ball. So it's going to be one of those three things. It's been very interesting for me to walk through this. An initial review of the records, I went through over 300 ODRs, or office discipline reports, from middle school, and there were only 3 that were about bullying, not 10 to 12 daily. That was a relief. However, it was also really important for me to talk one-on-one with the teachers, like about halfway through, and you can see their responses about halfway down the page. According to these 5 teachers, one teacher said she had witnessed and reported about 5, or had seen 5. She'd actually reported on 2. Teachers, I said, well, where do you think this is happening? Well, in the classrooms as well as transition areas. How are you using, are you comfortable referring kids to the counselor? Yes, absolutely. The green room, which is sort of a discipline and behavior modification room, is sort of brand new. They're not really comfortable with how they're supposed to use that yet. So I've learned that, I need to get more clarity out on how to do that. You'll see at the very end of this that we've had a lot of training on this type of stuff, and none of them thought they needed extra training. And almost all of them said they want more feedback. Our teachers, and this is probably K-8, but the middle school teachers that I'm talking to, they want to know what the consequence was for this kiddo that was removed from their classroom. It's unnerving, I think, as a teacher when you have something happening and you don't get resolution on it. They also, as you can see, several things in place that I'll be putting into place is the SLE skills needed to help kids learn what they should and shouldn't say in the classrooms. For teachers to get regular feedback from the dean about consequences.
What's the acronym SLE or SEL?
A social emotional learning. That's something that's really come big after COVID, because a lot of educators have found nationwide that kids are maybe struggling with some of those skills. So there's been a big push to really deliberately teach kiddos some of those skills, how to act in larger social settings. And then one of the staff members said, well, she wasn't really sure, who's supposed to give the follow-through on some of this stuff. ODRs, or office discipline reports, go to our dean of students. So we've got some things to clarify. It's been a very good learning process so far. It's been a relief that we don't have the bullying. It's been a relief that people are following the protocols. And it does not look like anybody's dropping the ball. So I wanted to get back to the board in a public setting and let you know that I'm working on that. And I will continue. I'll give you a final report on that in January. Are there questions before I keep rushing through this? Okay. Then as we go on, a busing update, actually. As was actually pointed out already, the buses used to be, the bus drivers, this is previous to this year, would write a report for disruptive kiddos on the bus. I think because they have so many new drivers, they were not writing reports, and even kiddos that are well behaved in school maybe haven't been at their best on buses. So we've done reviewing of busing rules for at least 3 of the buses. I forgot the numbers, and we will be doing the rest of the buses the first week of January. Bus suspensions are significantly increased, and the seating charts have gone out for 3 of the buses. We've also increased a paraprofessional hour. A time card. They come in an hour early every day just to look at the bus videos. There's about a 3 to a 5 day lag with us getting the videos. So it's definitely been a huge struggle. We had one incidence of a parent boarding a bus, telling the bus driver to go to a different bus stop. Evidently, the bus driver actually started going to a different bus stop then, which irritated the other parents on the route. So it's been tough. It's been terrible. And we're going to be working on bus behaviors with our kiddos, and the bus company hopefully will start writing some reports. At least with the seating
Is the
charts.
bus company on the hook to train their drivers?
Yep.
Because I would think that the person with the most vested interest in having an orderly bus would be the driver.
Yeah, exactly. It's been tough every angle.
There's still a really big staffing shortage, right? Because I've
There
experienced
is.
it too, where just, you know, the one bus driver in the morning, if something comes up,
Mhm.
they don't even sometimes have a lot of
Mhm.
backup, it
Yeah.
seems like.
But on top of that, the bus company has had to reassign or remove 3 drivers on these routes so, that's not helping.
Is there some training that could be done for parents as well to help their students understand the rules and see the value in having a safe bus driver versus a distracted bus driver?
Yeah, well, what I do when the kiddos do get to my office is I say, do you jump over the seats in your car at home? Well, of course not. Well, why are you doing it on the bus?
Well, it seems to me parents could use some training to help with the students as well.
Mhm.
We have our parents here that, their students are behaving on the bus, and their students know how to behave on the bus. Perhaps some don't and
Yeah,
need some more
or-
help from home as well.
Yeah, I wrote that down, Jolene, and sometimes the kids get carried away, and you've got your kids that normally wouldn't do this. But I'll tell you what, the seating charts make it a lot easier to figure out who's who.
Sure does, yeah.
Mhm.
Would it be a possibility, I know the schools utilize like the local police quite a bit, to have a police officer come in and talk about like jumping over the seat, and he could talk about what can happen in an accident, to give a little bit more of that kind of
Yeah,
angle of
I
it.
think
I don't
that's
know,
not a
if
bad
that, sometimes
idea.
instead of just hearing it from staff or teachers at school, if they
Yeah.
heard it maybe from a police officer, kind of explaining the dangers and the risks and
Yeah.
why you really need to be on your best behavior on that bus, might, I don't know.
No, I appreciate it. I think that's a good idea as well.
The comment about assigned seats earlier, and I can't remember who made it, I apologize, that was telling the idea that they had it, and then you had a staffing change, and then it maybe drifted away, or a new driver made a different decision.
Right.
Is there anything preventing us from mandating that with the bus company? As part of the service, you're gonna help us administer these assigned seats?
Mhm. Yep. Just hard when they have some driver turnover, but
Well,
I'm
and
open to
turnover
all
is part of
this.
life, right? I think, and I'm guessing in that, it's just the general shortage that we've seen in the post-COVID world. I may be hitting them a little bit harder, but,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yep, mandated the seating charts with the bus drivers, the police maybe coming in and giving a spiel, I think is a good idea. Training with our parents or gentle reminders. The problem is, I think the parents that don't need the gentle reminders actually read them, and the parents that maybe need to read them maybe don't.
And they upload these videos to some site, that's how we can comb the bus?
No, they
videos?
actually do them on jump drives, so they have to go and physically take it out of the bus camera.
I suppose,
put it
because you
into
got all
their
kinds of
system.
privacy concerns.
Yeah.
If not having it
Yeah.
encrypted, right?
Yeah. So it just takes time, and then by the time.
And that's the
you catch
5-day
up-
lag, because they're
3 to 5 days.
Yeah, they're downloading it or whatever and then digitizing it.
And they've got their people reviewing it, and we're not their only customer.
Is there any way to have another adult on the bus? I mean, you'd have to potentially pay them, right? If it's a para, or, I don't know, if something like that.
That'd
to
be
have-
pretty cost prohibitive, because you're looking at 11 buses.
Yeah.
2 hours a day, it's quite a bit. But we did put our Dean of Students on the bus on 3 different occasions, and kids were really perfect. Go figure.
That sounds right.
Right.
So, and I apologize, can we take comments from parents at this point, or is that, okay?
Sorry, I just have a
No,
question
no,
about the
dive in.
seating
Yeah.
arrangement. I don't know what logic they use to do the seating arrangement, but it seems to me the way my daughter describes it is that the older kids sit in the back and they might be the ones that are more prone to offend some of the bus policies. I was in school, if you were naughty, you sat behind the bus driver.
Yeah, usually school buses do it by age. The youngers are in the front, and there's kind of a, red, green, blue line so that the kids know. Another thing that we do is just separate kids if they're bugging each other, and they could be cousins, siblings, friends, strangers. You're in this section of the bus, or you're in this section.
Who is making the seating arrangements? Is it our staff? or
Our
is it-
dean, yeah.
Okay.
Our dean, yeah.
Okay. Is there a person, I don't know how dismissal goes for your guys' bus, but is there a person at each bus at the end of the day that can get on and make sure kids are in the right spots before the bus leaves? Or-
Yeah, we can do that. But that doesn't mean that when they leave the parking lot,
Oh,
they
for sure.
change seats.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just been tough. It was easier when we had drivers that were reliable, that got to know the kids. I mean, we do have at least 2 bus drivers that hit it out of the park. They know kids by name. There's not one bus problem with their bus because they love their kids, and it's obvious. And it's St. Patrick's Day, and they've got green leprechauns taped to the ceiling. And then it's Valentine's Day, and there's pink arts everywhere. And drivers were doing reports, and that's not happening. It's not happening this year. So that's enough. That's an update. Feel free. Also, I'll be talking with some parent groups, but feel free to email me additional ideas. Now, as I go further into my report communications, really wanted to point out to the board, I'm sure that you've read it, but just some really neat things going on. The field trip to the senior living facility, that was December 8th, where grade 2 shared letters and cards. Grade 5 to 6 just went to bowling alley, which was probably pretty fun. Grade 3 annual Roman party, 4th grade poetry slam was a big hit. Kindergarten gingerbread house was today. I will give a shout out. I'm not sure if former board member Rich Washington is listening to the board meeting, but he is by vocation an engineer, and he did let me know when he got here for his kindergarten gingerbread house activity that he had watched YouTube videos to perfect his plan. I guess it wasn't his daughter's gingerbread house, it was his activity. Really cute. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be hosting a breakfast for our bus drivers, as well as giving them a tour. We do that annually. Kudos to Nicole Link for organizing that. Grade 7 and 8, we have a big day tomorrow. We've talked about that a little bit. Early release tomorrow for winter break, and then back to school Wednesday, January 3rd. Any questions or additions to that? Director report.
Sorry, just reading
Yep.
the basketball camp. Is it WLA staff hosting it? No.
No, it's
Okay.
Peter Everett who's put these, he just did one in Thanksgiving, he did at Thanksgiving, he also did one last summer.
Cool.
Yeah, and they're pretty neat, and then we also have one of our parents, Moses, who also does basketball camps, so.
Cool.
Thank you.
Moving on to our audit presentation, which is going to be virtual. Justin stepped out. Ben, I'm giving you the side eye over there.
We have our people.
That's what I'm wondering. Are they in the,
I can go to the different screen, but there's no one here.
Her name is.
is it just us that's in the meeting? I see the one person down there, so I didn't know if that was us or someone else.
Her name is Bonnie, and she's from Abdo. She's one of the auditors.
Wow.
Cool.
I assume that it'll make that doorbell sound if someone tries to join, but I don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody there?
Not that I can see.
All right, well, we will move on and circle back to that when they become available. And we obviously don't have anyone from Bergen, so are you doing our Director of Finance
I shall
report?
read through the finance.
All right, turning it over to Jolene.
Once I find it. There's a lot in here. I was not able to attend our finance meeting. We had to reschedule and then reschedule and then reschedule. So I was not able to attend. But I'm very happy to read through and point out the colorful graphs. So, the summary of your key financial indicators, the average daily membership overview. Our original budget was at $754 ADM, the working budget at $749 ADM. Our actual enrollment is $750 ADM. The school's budgeted surplus in general fund for the year is $238,570. The school is budgeting to spend $5,000 out of the community service fund, a projected cumulative fund balance of $2,417,882, or 29% of expenditures at fiscal year end. The school's working budget is projected a surplus of $204,269 at fiscal year end, which will result in an ending fund balance of $2,388,581, or 26% of total expenditures. The projected days of cash on hand is 98 days of annual expenditures. This is above 45 days meets minimum bond covenants. The projected debt service coverage is at 1.28. This is higher than the required maximal annual debt service, MADS, requirement of 1.25. Financial statement key points. As of month end, 41.67% of the year was complete. Cash balance as of the reporting period is $1,926,832 and is down from $2,155,538 in the previous month due to regular accounts payable processing included bus company payments. State aids receivable 22-23 balance is $96,261 as of the reporting period. This balance will be finalized and received by MDE during its review in spring of 2024. The revenues received at the end of the reporting period, 44.1% of the working budget. Expenditures dispersed at the end of the reporting period is 37.9% of the working budget. Other items, the FY24 original budget was approved in the May 2023 board meeting. The FY24 working budget reflects updates to legislative updates and staffing changes. The FY23 audit was conducted September 21st and 22nd and was held remotely this year by Abdo Solutions. The FY23 audit will be presented at tonight's board meeting by Abdo Solutions. You want me to continue or do you want to circle back to this?
I would say continue, just so we
Okay,
don't have to.
all right. On the next page of your packet is the colorful graph reflecting all of the items I just covered. Following that, you have your trends, student enrollment summary, enrollment history, projected cash balance with investments. Following by our balance sheets, again highlighting everything I just spoke of, and your statement of revenues and expenditures. Are there any questions that I may try to answer about the financial statements?
Just add, Jolene, it looks like Dustin has joined us
Oh, there
in
he
case
is.
he wants.
Is it not, it's creative planning now, not Bergen KDV?
Correct.
Got it.
Right. Dustin, can you hear me? Can't hear you. Now he's gone.
Okay, can you guys hear me now at all? It was giving me a
Kinda.
message that my mic wasn't working, so I just
Should we
tried to
turn it up
refresh.
somehow?
1 second, Dustin, we're gonna see if we can turn our volume up so we can hear you better.
Sounds good.
Is there a volume on the TV screen?
I feel I'm just thinking, this meeting is going.
That
That's the chair I always have. Ha ha, you have the sinking chair.
Is
I've had
it?
that.
It's doing that, isn't it?
Mhm.
I'm gonna switch.
Try again, Dustin.
All right, can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
We do,
Yes.
we do. So, Dustin, I just finished reviewing the key financial indicators for the financial report. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, since I was not at the finance committee meeting, other than what was labeled in those key financial indicators.
No, Colleen, I think you did a very good job. I heard your discussion there and everything, and I don't have any other further highlights for this month. It was a pretty straightforward month this month and everything is right in line with where it should be for the year so far. So we're in a very healthy and positive positions financially right now.
Very good. Shelby, how do you want to proceed from there?
I would say, because we still don't have our audit people, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because they didn't do our audit, right?
No,
Yeah,
no,
so.
okay.
Dustin, I will say it's nice to put a face to your name for those of us who haven't met you formally yet, so thank you for your work that you do for us, so.
Absolutely, good to put a face to all your names as well. I'm glad to work with everybody here, so.
And Dustin, can you tell us the name change from Bergen to Creative Planning for the whole group? I know you emailed me about it, but they can hear it from you.
Absolutely. So actually, as of July of this calendar year, our name did change from Bergen KDV to Creative Planning Business Services. We're a subdivision, if you will, of Creative Planning, which is mostly a wealth management company. They had acquired us wanting to create more of a business-related side to their portfolio with what they're doing now. So it was a perfect fit kind of for both companies. We operate on similar platforms and everything like that. And it's gone very well so far, I would say, as far as the transition goes. It's been pretty seamless. And as far as services for you guys as our clients goes, there really hasn't been any change at all as far as that goes. So very painless on both sides, I'd say.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, I will continue with the finance committee meeting agenda and minutes. We had our not regular schedule. Finance committee met Friday, December 15th at 11 a.m. and it was a virtual meeting. During this meeting, Dustin reviewed those key financial statements for November, reviewed various service contracts, including snowplow contracts, civil engineering to prepare for our playground. And those contracts were included and given to you for our board meeting for your review. The finance committee is again recommending that we go with these contracts as they are within normal budget ranges and.
Let me just correct you, I'm sorry that you
Yes, please, thank you.
couldn't be there though. It was Judith, myself, and Mandy that were at that meeting, and we're recommending that we go forward with the snowplow contract. It's pretty straightforward. It's $6,000, regardless of how much snow there is. But the civil engineering, they do want a second bid on that.
Oh, right,
So
yes.
we're gonna bring that back in January.
Right.
And we think this is a good company and a good bid, but it's just nice to have a second bid.
Very good, thank you. And Dr. Mortensen had a discussion item for paid time off, a new rule that was coming into effect, and then reviewed again the cost increase for the sound panels in the gym. And I believe those increases are all within your packet too. So that was our finance committee meeting. Next meeting will again be a virtual meeting, Wednesday, January 10th, 4:30 p.m. Do you have any questions in regards to the finance committee meeting?
Just to clarify, the sound panels are gonna come in a little bit higher, about 8% higher.
Right.
Which is still reasonable, it's still in the budget. And I don't remember if it's because they have to be cut to a different size that there was extra labor? Or if we
They're
needed
actually adding
more.
more,
More? Okay.
putting in more. So that will be very nice for those of us that spend our days in there. Get that done. And for your students who can't hear us when we're talking anyways. So, in closing, I'd like to make a motion to approve the November financials and December finance meeting minutes.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the November financials and December committee minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Joe, we'll turn it over to you for the governance committee.
Yeah.
Did we approve the snowplow contract? as
Not yet,
part of
it's,
it?
Action item, it'll come up.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the governance committee, we met on Thursday, December 7th, at 4:40. I was there, Michael Reese, Dr. Kathy Mortensen, Shelby Poole, Jessica Erickson. We discussed the 902 facilities use policy. The big takeaway from that was clearly defining those fees associated with some of our long-term partners, YMCA, City of Woodbury, some very different things to consider with both of those. So Jessica was going to follow up with an example form, and then we were going to have a team discussion from there. So she's working on that. The student dress code with the crew neck, quarter zip. Jess, Nicole, and Kathy was going to draft amendments to policy 540 and present to the governance committee. And we all agreed on phasing out the hoodies and kind of going for more of that professional look. We discussed the uniform trade-in incentive, which I think Rich was going to reach out actually to you, Mike, about maybe trying to follow up with that embroidery vendor, I think in Newport, right?
Yeah, we swapped those. I just gotta reach out to the guy.
Yeah, so that was, see if we can get some kind of a trade-in incentive for parents. And then we discussed the staff compensation for outside duties. We decided we need more investigation into that. We're gonna revisit that in January's governance meeting. We also discussed the PTO using the school logos. We actually included a motion with the board for tonight to approve the usage of those logos. We thought that would be really great for student morale and school spirit and all that good stuff. So I think moving forward with that, so we'll have a motion for that. And then update policy 538 to send to the board for approval. I think I see on here too, we've got enter policy 526 and 538 into the first reading. And then we reviewed the 500 series from 516 to 538, and we didn't really find many changes. We added some verbiage around adding marijuana to one of the sections for policy 526, just to be consistent with some of our other policies, to include that in there.
To prohibit that.
Yeah, to prohibit.
That's clear.
As well as
Including the
prohibited.
prohibition.
So, yes, yeah. So, and then we had future discussions of more policy reviews, finished the 500 series, updates with policy 540, phasing out the hoodies, the 902 update, and the staff compensation for outside duties, and we concluded from there. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions or other comments with any of the topics we discussed.
A lot, just kudos to, there's a lot of people here in this room that are on that committee, and Rich Washington does a great job running it.
Yep.
But, I mean, we're getting a lot done every meeting.
Yeah, very productive.
Very,
Cool.
Right.
If nothing else, I'll make a motion to accept the December Governance Committee minutes and approve the PTO usage of school logos.
Second.
Right, there's been a motion and a second to accept the December Governance Committee minutes and approve PTO being able to use the school logo. Is there any further discussion around that?
like to butt in again, we used to allow the PTO access to the logo, and then something happened with COVID. I think just some of our stuff stopped, so I'm sure they're gonna be very happy to know that they can start using that again.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Might as well make another motion to enter policy 526 and 538 into the first reading.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to enter policies 526 and 538 into our first read. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion also carries. Ryan is not here, and Julie is our other facilities committee member, correct? Patrick. All right, Patrick, what do you got for us?
Well, we just had a kind of a short meeting the other day. Really, the only thing we talked about was the other panels, cutting them down to, I think we went back to the 3x3s, and it was a little bit more money. Ryan didn't think that the he wanted a color, the school colors in the pattern, and it wasn't gonna work with the 4x, it came in a 4x8 sheet, and he had to cut it in half, but he figured the 4x4s weren't gonna work, so the 3x3s, to get, I think it was three layers,
Yeah.
and the 4x4s, it wasn't gonna allow to use up all that space. It was either gonna be too short, and, or,
Yeah, would have been symmetrical.
yeah,
Am
yeah,
I saying that right?
so
Yeah.
he went back to the 3x3s, and so then there was, the price increase in that, so.
And I think we saw all of that at our last packet as well, so.
Our guest
All
here.
right, our guest of honor for the evening has arrived. Bonnie, are you there?
I am here, and I am so sorry for my tardiness, so I appreciate you being flexible and still saying I'm the guest of honor. That's very kind of you, so.
All right, so we will circle back to you.
Thank you so much. Is it all right if I share my screen and pull up my presentation?
Yes.
Wonderful. Let me get that pulled up here. Okay, and then, all right, can everyone see the screen that says Woodbury Leadership Academy on the top here?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I am going to go through the results of our fiscal year 23 audit. What we're talking about tonight is from June 30th, 2023 and past. And we are going to go over some of the financial results, some of the more technical audit opinion, and then we'll touch on some information. We have some ratios in there as well that we'll touch on. So first, a little bit about our opinion letters. We have two separate opinion letters in the report. The first is our independent auditor's opinion, and that's the letter that provides our unmodified opinion, and essentially says that we were able to obtain all of our audit evidence. We did not run into any significant issues, and we don't have any significant concerns about the school's ability to continue. We also issue a report over legal compliance, and we didn't note any instances of non-compliance. And so as a governmental entity, the school has to comply with a lot of different state statutes, and we didn't note it in our testing. So that was really great to see. This all kind of boils down to, it was a really clean year for the audit. The information was well prepared, and we were able to get through everything in a timely manner. I'm going to show you a few different charts that focus on first student revenue and expense numbers. And so first I wanted to show you what your average daily membership or your student count has looked like for the last 6 years. And so this chart just helps illustrate the trend of that increasing ADM. And you can see in fiscal year 23 from the prior year, you increased about 30 kids. Okay, so next is your general fund balance. And so the school does have a policy to keep about 20% of your expenses within your reserves. And that helps ensure that you have sufficient reserves in case anything happens with state aids or other funding, you have some fallback money. You can see there that your reserve percentage was 27%, which is really close to where you were last year. And it's just, it's over that policy. So really healthy reserve balance. Here's a look at your general fund budget to actual. And so you did end up bringing in more funds than what you had anticipated for the year. You also did have some more costs than what you had anticipated as well. Overall, you had planned for a fund balance increase of about $260,000. You were able to increase your fund balance by about $170,000. And so a little bit less than what you had anticipated, but not a huge difference there. Here's a look at your general fund revenues by student. It can be helpful to think about what you're bringing in these different buckets. And so you get your state aids, and then your federal revenues, and then local sources. The federal sources vary a lot depending on the school, where it's located, and the different types of grants that you bring in. You can see there that you are significantly less than other charter schools. We have a statewide average and also Region 11. Region 11 is the 7-county metro area, so this just helps understand, geographically what schools around us are bringing in different funds. And then on the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you your general fund spending per student. So just keep this in mind when we look at that on that spending side as well. Okay, so here's your general fund spending by type, and it can be helpful to think about your budget broken out into these different areas. So you spend most of your budget on salaries and wages, and you can see kind of how that allocation has changed or not changed. It's fairly consistent from year to year, the types of costs that you have. And then here's your general fund spending per student. And so this correlates with that revenue per student slide where you were less than those statewide averages, but here you also see that you have less spending than other schools as well. So those two things do correlate. This is mapping out your spending per student on a percentile range compared to other charter schools. And so you can see that you guys are significantly lower. The reason why you're so much lower is we do take certain outliers out of our population that we use for all the charter schools across the state. I think you guys are one of the outliers that we remove when we do our averages and things like that. So you can see there that you're underneath that percentile group. Here's a slide on the building company. And so, a few years ago, you have the bonds issued and the building project there. So this just looks at what are the principal and interest requirements over the next 10 years for those bonds. Stays pretty much the same for the foreseeable future. Here's your general fund reserves compared with some other charter schools in the state. So you can see that Region 11 and also that statewide average. And so your fund balance is right in line with the average of other charter schools. I'm going to show you a couple of percentile charts that look at some of the different larger programs that you have. And so this one looks at the elementary secondary ed program on a per student spending basis. And so you can see there that, like in the first chart that we saw with the total expenditures, this one you're also spending, on the very bottom range of the charter schools in the state. And then special education tends to be the second largest program, so we like to show this one as well. And you can see there that, again, you're on the bottom level of that. That's the financial information that I have to go over with you. I would love to touch on anything that you want to revisit. I'm not going to go into the detailed financial statements. If you would like to touch on anything in the detailed financial statements, we can go over those as well. We also have our contact information here for your audit team. We would love to hear from you. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Bonnie, we have some new board members that aren't familiar with the audit process, and I would just love you to say that thing again, that we have 0 findings, which is a good thing. I just want to hear it one more time before I retire.
Yeah, zero findings, and just to emphasize the board's role a little bit, internal controls are a really important part of the school, and we also review them very closely with the audit. It's really important that you have, it's not just, that your fund balance looks good, it's that you have good controls in place to protect the school and protect that fund balance. And we did find during our review that, your controls are working, your reviews, your approvals, who's doing what is in line with your processes. And that's really great to see, and that leads to that clean audit report. The board's role in that is really important to make sure that that tone is right and that you guys are doing what you need to do to make sure that your internal controls are strong.
This school has always been very good with finances since year one. And having the finance committee, making sure there's a receipt for everything that's reimbursed, making sure that whoever makes bank deposits is not the same person running the deposits to the bank. There's just hundreds of things to do, making sure that we check with Destin before we add staff or overspend on technology or facilities. So we really partner with, what do they call themselves, Creative Designs now?
Creative design, creative
So,
planning.
we're just gonna keep on doing all this good stuff and have no findings. Oh, I'm sorry, that was me. I'm looking around thinking, who is that? My son calls every time we have a board meeting. It's just weird. I'll step out.
He knows.
Apologies.
All right, do you have anything else for us, Bonnie?
I do not, no, but thank you again for your patience, and if you have any questions that come up, let me know. We'll make sure everything gets submitted to the state. Everything's due at the end of December, so everything will be submitted by then.
Board members, anyone have questions? All we good?
Looks
All
good.
right, thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right, I would like to make a motion to approve our audit.
Second.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, moving down to what is numbered as 8.1 on our agenda. Executive Director Search Update. I kind of touched on that in the board report earlier, but subcommittee, do you guys have anything you want to add?
Just to say that I talked to him today. He had a couple of different ideas by way of a counteroffer. There's nothing there that personally surprised me or looked to be concerned. It's just the normal give and take that happens. But I'll bring the subcommittee up to date on it, and then what my thinking is once we coalesce around an opinion, then we can come make a recommendation on which option to take, and it shouldn't take too long.
Awesome. All right. High school update, do you have something for us there?
I do, and move through it quickly or slowly. What I'm opening up is the 20-page high school expansion piece that was given to the board, it was 2 months ago now. I just wanted to highlight a few things. And I know you don't have it in front of you, but admin staffing for 24-25, if the board is good with launching this coming fall. We have the principal and curriculum coordinator would be the two things to afford this year, and they're already in place. The teaching staff that would need to be in place are already in place as far as science, social studies, and math, special education, leadership, and art. However, I'm not sure if we need a further licensure area. It would be for teaching 1 hour of chemistry, physics, or engineering, 1 hour to take. And then there's Phy-Ed and health.
Can I stop you for a quick?
Sure.
If you are looking for it, it was sent on October 23rd by Cassidy.
Thank you. We would need to offer ninth graders health class for 9 weeks. And I believe that Harley Hazel, our PE teacher, is game for that. That's what he's expressed to me, Jolene. But if not, we would also have to hire someone for that for 1 hour a day for 9 weeks. Licensed school social worker, we actually have a counselor in place, behavior interventionist is in place, and paraprofessionals are in place. So we've been, English language learner instruction is also in place already. As I move forward to electives, this is on page 10, if you're referencing it, it's a table of what's required for 9th grade. We will, as we go up another potentially 70 or 80 students this coming fall, we are going to need to add some electives, whether 9th grade opens or not. We're going to need a second art teacher, we're going to need a second music teacher. We've also talked about potentially adding online Spanish for some of our middle school kiddos. And then, like I mentioned, possibly a 1 hour a day of chem, physics, or engineering, and 1 hour a day for 9 weeks of health. I already mentioned the looping idea that just came up with Jolene and I today. would like to point out to the board, I'm gonna go through electives here a little bit. We did have quite a bit of interest. We had over 50 new families that attended the enrollment showcase just for the 9th grade presentation. We have put opening or launching a high school off by a year. We were thinking about doing it last year, and we did not feel that we were ready with the middle school, with stability and with behavior. So right now, I think we should have some preliminary discussion about, does the board want to launch the high school this fall or not, or what more information do we need? I know we have some parents that are hanging their hat on that and expecting it, hoping for it. Do you want me to survey our current parents so that we're responsive to their opinions, or can we just talk about it a little bit and give me your input? What more information do you need to feel like you can make a good decision?
How many are, do we know how many are enrolled or that showed interest at the open communication night?
We do not know that, but that is something we can follow up on because we have the email list. Are you considering this as well as our current kiddos? As I'm up there in the hallway, I hear different kiddos saying yes or no, but I don't know that they're in agreement with their parents. So I think we really need to talk to those families.
I'd like to see more about how the requirements will be met and the flow of traffic and how classes will be scheduled
Mm-hmm.
and where they'll be scheduled,
Okay,
including all of the specialists in their areas as well.
okay, that's helpful.
And I'd love to have a better idea of, what do they want out of it? What are they thinking their kid, is everybody supposed to dutifully go off to business school or study science and engineering, go look at the trades? What are the parents seeing year 5, let's say?
Mm-hmm. I think I missed something, Julie. Schedules, kind of movement, floor space, facilities use with specialist teachers. Survey the parents. Trade school 5-year plan. What are they looking at for their high school
Yeah, 'cause
model?
it is, because, the world of work has changed, and Patrick brought this up, I think, last meeting or one of the, during the interviews, right? This idea that, there's a dearth of people in the trades, right? It's a great time to get into it if that's what you want to do. Is that what are our parents looking at that, or, just what are they, and maybe I'm being a little, I'm not even sure what the right word is, maybe overly pragmatic about it, but the idea is, it's the next step on your way to being able to get a job, and provide for yourself and have the kind of life you want.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super important.
This is probably low on the priority list, but like driver's ed, is that something that we're gonna be incorporating? Because that would be 9th grade.
It's gonna be high on some priority list.
Yeah. Yeah, no. But just, because that's something that would be
Okay.
assuming significant.
About extracurricular activities, whether it be whatever it is, maybe that's something that would need a survey from kiddos and parents, whether it be sports or, obviously you get into high school, that can be a big experience with that and could retain,
Sports.
entice kids to stay on or come here, and whether it be sports or, whatever it is they're into. It's a
Music
chess
clubs.
club, music, whatever it is that, it gives them that thing after school to go be a part of.
It doesn't seem like that's such a key component towards feeling part of the place and frankly not getting into trouble,
So I came from a very small school, and we didn't have enough for a basketball team, and then there was another school that was 17 miles away. They didn't have enough. Their gym was too small. It was a regulation size, and they didn't have enough for a basketball team, so we co-opted. So, and is that a possibility? Would say that Woodbury Leadership Academy could co-op with another school that has like baseball, summer baseball,
Yes,
of
for
course.
sure.
Something like that, or is there another smaller charter school or a private school that, you know, is kind of in the same boat as we are. They just don't have the numbers that we could co-op with. You know, I don't know what the Minnesota rules and regulations are that, or, you know, are in place. You know, can we do that in Minnesota? You know, maybe it's not necessary in Minnesota to do it, so they've never had to worry about it. But, you know, I know, you know, in the Dakotas, it's like that, so.
We've pursued it a little bit, you know, we combined with Math Science Academy for the cross-country running team.
Sure.
And Minnesota State high school regulations, I think, easily allow for that. We just really haven't taken a maximum opportunity. We haven't really gotten in there and
Sure.
and made it happen.
Yeah.
But very good suggestions.
And Kathy, I'd like to see one more plan
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
plan to handle behaviors and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, where I'm situated, I see a lot of intermingling with the upper level and the lower level, and it's not always positive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to see more management of that and how that's going to happen.
Okay. And then I'm gonna just put, Jolene, I'm gonna just, you and I can talk more about that, because I think what you're talking about is how can we have more separation of this big variety of age groups.
Yes.
So, yeah, I got you on that. Again, if any of the board members think of anything, email me, and I'm gonna get them on the list of more information needed.
One of the questions we asked Jonas was
Mhm.
like things that he would suggest for getting ready for grade 9. Our mission and vision does not support grade 9 because we don't have core knowledge. So we would need a new mission and vision statement for either just specifically 9th grade or a whole new one to encompass 9th grade or high school into what we have.
Gotcha.
Curriculum, like if we haven't started looking at what curriculums we want to use, there's a lot that needs to be done. After like that interview with Jonas and him going like, these things aren't done yet, and all of us being like, deer in the headlights. So I think we need to have the conversation, is it feasible to get it done and be ready? If it's not, what are we going to do? Do we want to pursue something like preschool has been brought up? Like, where are we at? Is it feasible to get it launched effectively next year? Are we ready to say, here's the curriculum we're ready to order? Is it cost effective? Do we have enough kids to make it worth purchasing new curriculum, to make it worth hiring additional staff? So,
Some of that is highlighted in
Yeah.
here, but we're gonna go a little deeper into that by January.
Yeah.
A lot deeper into it.
yeah, I mean, these are, you know, hypotheticals, but like,
Yep.
what are our numbers? What interests do we truly have? We have, you know, the last number I heard was like there were 12. Like, it's probably not fiscally responsible to move forward if we have 12 freshmen. So, but then we also need to figure that out.
Yeah, we do need to figure that out. For those of you that aren't aware, preschool kiddos are worth a .60 or a .80, I'm not sure. They're not worth as much money as your older kids. And then once you get into 6th grade and above, each student generates 1.25 for revenue. With our bonding issue, we have to hit 900 within 2 years. So if you're going to hit 900 in revenue and you're doing a preschool program, you're really looking at probably 1,000 students to make that 900 revenue number. Does that make sense? So there is that. We also have a plan out with our bondholders that says we will be launching 9th grade, and this is how we will have registration. If we sway from that, that's allowed. They're about the money, just show us the money. But that also has a different effect. If to hit that 900 in revenue, it means that we're going to have 1,000 kiddos in the building, for instance. If that means we're gonna have 6 sections of kindergarten, now you're setting yourself up for 6 sections of 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade as these kids matriculate up. And then what's gonna happen as far as actual classroom spaces in the current facility? We need to think about, we might run out of room. So there's a big bondholder and financial target to make sure that we're hitting. with or without a high school launch. So I'll bring that information as well, so that you can maybe see it visually and get your mind around it. So, well, thank you, this is good homework to keep me busy over winter break, for sure. If you think of anything else, let me know. I don't have a pony in the race. We all want it to be a successful school, one way or the other, for our stakeholders. And we'll get there.
Yep.
Oh, so then, I guess, one of the questions I have, as far as Jonas, if he, agrees to a contract, what's the soonest that we could bring him in on this to expand to a 9th grade? Because it sounded like he had a lot of ideas.
Okay, that's great. Budgetarily, I don't think we're in the position to add him on sooner rather than later, since he's July 1st, but typically in these kind of transitions, he's gonna use a fair amount of his PTO, paid time off. He's gonna come over here, we're gonna very much team, and bring those decisions to the group. So, it's a dance. We want it to go very smoothly.
Sure.
Has there ever been a survey, just talking about since the idea came up, about switching to pre-K instead of doing high school, and what do the parents want to see, the stakeholders? I think of that too, like obviously, because like you said, that it can create a different issue too, so if we start to kind of go down that road, well, what would the stakeholders, what would the parents like to see?
I think that a lot of the parents would like to see the preschool, and I think that our early teachers would like to see the preschool, K1, 2, because that gives them a head start or a peek on the needs of these kiddos instead of surprise in kindergarten.
Sure.
I'll put that on my list as well to kind of get some little more info on.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I mean, it might depend, I mean, it's probably be a mixed bag of that, I would think. I would think there'd be a lot of parents, I don't know, that would, as your kids kind of moving their way through, to know that, well, they can just keep on going all the way to the end, potentially. It could be a lot of parents might feel that way, I would think, but I don't know, I could be,
I just feel like you're gonna need a lot of details and information, so I'm really gonna be putting together a pretty good package, but I do want everyone to spend a lot of time, so you might get some reminders, really reading it and going through it so that we can have good discussion in January. Okay, looks like we got some tough work to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. As Kathy mentioned earlier, Jolene amended our agenda at looking at closing enrollment in grades K-8. The sheet has made its way all the way around, so everyone has had a chance to look at numbers. I do have one clarifying question because I can't remember from last year. If a student drops, do we fill that spot? Or are we saying we're
We can revisit it if we start dipping and we're concerned about the budget.
okay?
But I think right now we're doing really well.
Okay.
I don't think that I would bring it back to be reopened until March.
Are there waiting lists right now currently in any of our grades?
There are, but without Cassidy here, I'm sorry, I can't tell you which ones. I think it's several, but it's just a couple kids here and there for various grade levels.
Okay. Yep. All right, I would entertain a motion. I would like to make a motion to close enrollment in grades K through 8.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. It's in our board packet. Do you want to speak to the Bridget Zink thing or just go ahead?
Yeah, for those of you that aren't aware, our music teacher went out on family medical leave. She'll be back in, I think, March 18th. We did hire Bridget Zank right out of college. I think she graduates college actually tomorrow night or Friday, St. Thomas. Brand new music teacher. So she stepped in and she's really been doing a great job. She's currently has as a para. As soon as her license comes through, she'll be a licensed teacher. Until then, we have a licensed teacher or an administrator in the hallway right outside her room or inside, but she's doing a great job, and we need her to fill that position. And then when Ms. Lauerman comes back, we have another one going out, so we'll just keep Mrs. Zank busy till the end of the year. And hopefully the board, with the new director, will go ahead and probably fill her for the second music position for the coming school year. So that's kind of the long-term plan, but for right now, we're loving her in music, and that is her major. She's gone into music education.
I will make the motion to ratify the teacher contract for Bridget Zank as long-term substitute teacher.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And then the approval of the Emerald Lawn Services for snow plowing services, that was given to us, $6,000 per year. Finance Committee has already discussed, and it is their recommendation that we approve.
It's either that or bet on El Nino, right?
Or bring your shells.
Yeah, I'm not volunteering to come shovel at 4 a.m., so.
And it's a lot of real estate to plow. They plow, they also go down the sidewalk. Each second, Ben will get to you. They bring the big crates of salt, they do a lot. Go ahead.
They also provide us with equipment for our maintenance staff to utilize, that they allow us to use through the season, and then they pick up at the end of the season.
That's good. No, in all seriousness, it's a risk management tool too, somebody can get it
Yeah,
out there.
for sure. Alright, so I would like to make a motion to approve the Emerald Lawn Service snow plowing contract.
Second.
Any further discussion? Alright, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Alright, board communication, future agenda items, I think just doing, I would encourage everyone to go back and revisit the plan that was brought to us in October, dig through it, figure out what more we need. Over the next month, don't be afraid to send questions to Kathy, so that she and Nick can have that information for us in January. We kind of try to get ahead of it for our next steps for getting that launched, if that's the direction we decide to go.
I'm gonna go right on the heels of that. I'm probably gonna recruit a couple. I'm thinking Nicole and Jolene to kind of help me get some questions, to do a little ad hoc committee work on this, just so that I make sure that I have all the info you guys need to make a good decision.
Perfect. All right. I'll throw some info at you too. I was talking to Dr. Ali today, because we are in year 3, so we are 9, 11, and then next year we'll be 12. So he's fresh off of starting this process also, so said he would be more than happy to answer any questions we had or provide any suggestions or guidance.
And
So
he's amazing.
yeah, so
Good, thank you.
yep. All right. Our next meeting will be held right here on Thursday, January 25th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Who wants to make the
I'll
favorite
make a
motion?
motion to adjourn our meeting for the evening.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?